Out of India, a London-bound plane carrying 242 passengers and crew has crashed in the west of the country shortly after taking off. The Boeing 787, once hailed as a breakthrough in modern aviation, promised unmatched efficiency, comfort, and innovation. Nicknamed the Dreamliner, it captured the hopes of engineers and airlines worldwide. But behind the sleek design and bold claims, a series of technical flaws began surfacing, raising safety concerns and unsettling passengers. How did this marvel become a cautionary tale? And could it signal the end of an aviation era? Let's find out. Design flaws. The dark truth behind Boeing's Dreamliner. The Boeing 787 Dreamliner was once hailed as the aircraft of the future. A sleek, long-range, fuel-efficient jet built with revolutionary carbon fiber composite materials. Its debut in 2009 marked a turning point in aviation history. Lighter than aluminum and much stronger, this material promised better fuel savings and performance. But behind the gleaming marketing lies a web of design flaws, fire risks, and safety concerns that are only now surfacing, and they're more serious than most passengers realize. The Dreamliner can seat around 242 to 335 passengers and boasts major upgrades in passenger comfort. Cabin pressure is optimized to reduce fatigue. Humidity is increased to prevent dry skin and eye irritation. And windows, they're about 30% larger than traditional aircraft and use electronic dimming instead of window shades. The engines are quieter. The cabin feels more peaceful. On the surface, it all sounds perfect. But here's where the cracks begin to show, literally and figuratively. To start the engine and operate essential systems on the ground, Boeing installed two powerful lithium-ion battery packs, one at the front and one at the rear. These batteries, known as the APU and main battery, were supposed to be a breakthrough in aircraft power systems, but they've sparked fires in multiple aircraft. Yes, actual onboard battery fires. And when you're flying at 35,000 feet, that's not just a hiccup, it's a potential disaster. Even more troubling is how Boeing responded. Investigations by regulatory bodies like the FAA and EASA confirmed the aircraft's safety back in 2011. But incidents involving battery malfunctions, electrical system failures, and even fuselage production quality have continued to haunt the Dreamliner program over the years. A string of airlines have reported issues that range from fuel leaks to cracking composite skins. And then there's the human factor. Whistleblowers from within Boeing have raised alarms about rushed assembly, manufacturing shortcuts, and inadequate inspections. All of these point to a troubling trend. The push for innovation may have come at the cost of safety. Manufacturing flaws. A series of serious malfunctions. The Boeing 787 Dreamliner was hailed as a marvel of modern engineering. Sleek, efficient, and revolutionary in design. It was the first commercial aircraft to rely so heavily on carbon fiber reinforced polymer CFRP. With over 50% of its airframe constructed from this lightweight yet incredibly strong material, its wings, fuselage, doors, and empennage all benefited from this composite approach, a leap forward from the earlier uses of CFRP seen in the Boeing 737 Classic and 777 tail structures. While Airbus chose a more traditional frame and panel method for the A350, Boeing's decision to use one-piece composite barrels gave the Dreamliner a technological edge, but also introduced major risks. Now, that edge is being overshadowed by a relentless stream of manufacturing flaws and safety warnings. On March 20, 2025, the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, issued an airworthiness directive urging airlines to inspect the 787's forward pressure bulkhead, a vital structural component responsible for maintaining cabin pressure at cruising altitude. The concern? A pattern of improper gaps, misaligned fasteners, and deviations from Boeing's own technical specifications. While these flaws might not pose an immediate threat, the FAA warned that over time they could lead to fatigue cracks, corrosion, or even structural collapse at 35,000 feet. This isn't an isolated issue. Since 2020, Boeing has paused Dreamliner deliveries multiple times due to serious production problems, especially errors in how fuselage sections are joined. To manage the growing backlog, the company established so-called shadow factories outside of their main production lines, essentially secret repair sites, where over 120 already built jets were reworked. Go back to 2013 and you'll remember the global grounding of the 787 fleet due to lithium-ion battery fires. It was a major black eye for a jet that was supposed to represent Boeing's future. But the problems haven't stopped. In early 2025, another threat emerged. This time in the form of a radio software glitch. The FAA released a little-notice document proposing that Boeing be required to correct the issue, which could potentially result in a catastrophic communication failure mid-flight. Mid-flight turbulence. Turbulence issue. Frequent reports of severe turbulence aboard Boeing 787 Dreamliners have increasingly sparked concern among passengers and aviation experts. While turbulence can affect any aircraft, recent high-profile incidents involving the 787 have drawn significant attention. On March 27, 2025, United Airlines Flight UA-1, a 787-9 from San Francisco to Singapore encountered sudden severe clear air turbulence over the Philippines. The aircraft shook violently for about 20 seconds at 40,000 feet, injuring one flight attendant seriously and 4 others with minor injuries. The jet continued safely to Singapore, where medical teams awaited. Earlier in March 2024, LEAM Flight 800 en route from Sydney to Auckland experienced a sudden drop, injuring 50 of the 272 people on board. Many passengers and objects were thrown into the ceiling with some sustaining serious injuries. Add to this a well-documented 2023 Air Europa 787 incident. Severe turbulence caused multiple casualties, including a passenger trapped in an overhead bin, triggering an emergency diversion to Brazil. More recently, October 11, 2023, Air Canada's Boeing 787 encountered unexpected turbulence on its Vancouver, Singapore flight. Videos captured meal trays and passengers flying amid the cabin. Though no serious injuries were reported, experts warn these incidents may signal a growing trend. Research suggests clear air turbulence, often invisible and unpredictable, is increasing due to climate change. A University of Reading study estimated a 55% rise in severe clear air turbulence over the North Atlantic between 1979 and 2020. Airlines, including United and Singapore Airlines, have responded by tightening crew protocols, such as halting hot beverage service at peak turbulence risk times. Though Boeing 787s handle turbulence robustly, the surge in severe events raises urgent safety questions. Are current forecasting tools sufficient? Do crew protocols need an overhaul? As clearer aviation data emerge, regulatory bodies and airlines must reassess guidelines to ensure passenger and crew safety during these increasingly common encounters. Danger exposed. Danger exposed. Boeing's turbulent start to 2024 didn't end with a terrifying mid-air blowout on Alaska Airlines Flight 1282. It only deepened when an insider stepped forward. Sam Sulloper, a seasoned quality engineer who has been with Boeing since 2007, has now gone public with claims that could shake the foundation of the aircraft giant's credibility. His revelations about the 787 Dreamliner have raised alarm bells, not only within the industry, but also at the highest levels of regulatory oversight. After the January blowout incident on the 737 MAX 9 at around 16,000 feet, the Federal Aviation Administration (FAA) had already begun scrutinizing Boeing's production practices. But the pressure ramped up significantly after Sulloper testified before a Senate subcommittee on April 17. What he shared wasn't just shocking. It could signal the beginning of a much larger crisis. Sulloper alleges that critical components of the Boeing 787's fuselage were not fastened properly during manufacturing. Over time, this could result in the aircraft literally ripping apart mid-flight. According to him, employees were encouraged to apply force to make gaps between metal sections disappear just so production targets could be met. In other words, corners were being cut and safety was being compromised for the sake of speed and profit. He didn't just keep these concerns to himself. Sulloper said he alerted supervisors and tried to escalate the matter. But instead of being taken seriously, he was reassigned to the Boeing 777 program, a move he believes was a way to silence him. Even there, he reported similar issues only to face retaliation. He even claims one supervisor threatened him with physical harm. What changed everything for him was the Alaska Airlines incident. Fearing that the Dreamliner's structural weaknesses could lead to another disaster, he decided to act. Through his attorney, Deborah Katz, he formally submitted a complaint to the FAA. The letter didn't just detail faults in the 787. It also pointed to alarming assembly flaws in the Boeing 777. These accusations come at a time when public confidence in Boeing is already fragile. With FAA investigations underway and Senate interest heating up, the aviation world is watching closely. What Boeing doesn't want you to know. When a Boeing engineer, Sam Sulloper, publicly accused the company of failing to properly fasten the fuselage sections of its 787 Dreamliners, it reignited concerns already simmering in the aviation world. The FAA launched an official investigation following his claims, but interestingly, they did not ground any aircraft during the process. While this may sound like a one-off red flag, the reality is far more troubling, and it goes back over a decade. This isn't Boeing's first brush with major scrutiny. In 2018, the FAA took the drastic step of grounding all U.S.-operated 787s after two separate incidents involving overheating lithium-ion batteries. One of them even caught fire while the plane was parked in Boston, exposing vulnerabilities in the aircraft's design. It took until April of that year and a complete battery overhaul before the FAA cleared the aircraft for flight again.